it's going to be cool talking to Allan Dick about some of this media stuff. I don't know how many times I've yelled at the TV, which I never ever thought I'd do in my life. And I only watch even like 6 o'clock news spasmodically these days, simply because I just can't handle it. As an old journalist, and I do have a few awards under my belt. I'm just disgusted with the lack of balance in the news and the emphasis on opinions. And they need to step back and have a really, really good look at it and go back to basics and really do some stuff that is. And we are seeing. Don't get me wrong. I have a New Zealand Herald subscription, so that's Herald Premium, and I think the news in that and the quality of journalism that I get access to on the Herald is pretty good, and I'm more than happy to keep paying that sub. For that, on that basis, it's just really good value, and the journalism is by and large quite balanced. And I would pay. I would pay for a good TV channel that mirrored that. So, what's your thinking? Where are we at the state of TV news? Because it looks like we're going to see almost a news capsule style stuff of less than half an hour, and that seems to me to be a sad thing and a sad day for New Zealand. And online we have Allan Dick, who is another person. Allan has been watching this space quite well, and has offered his comments on Facebook from time to time around the state of the media. So good morning, Allan.
G'day, Taylor.
And so where are you in the fine world these days?
Where do I live these days?
You know, where are you right at the moment?
I'm sitting in my room in the house in Oamaru.
Oh, so you're not the travelling minstrel this week?
No, not at all. No, look. I've got a camper van. Or is it a camper van or a mobile home? But anyway, about once every second week we have a week away and a week at home, and this is a week at home. So,
gotcha.
So I get to see a fair bit of the country. But look, just before we talk about the media, which is a very important thing, let me tell you that we have a new arrival in the house. Helen brought with her a little dog called Audrey, a little black dog, and a Burmese cat called Harriet. She's very inventive with the names. Anyway, 2 or 3 months ago, a dark and stormy night in Oamaru, one of those rare nights in Oamaru, there was a noise at the front door. Something hit the front door, and Helen opened the door, and there was a baby bird. We wasn't sure. Turned out to be a baby blackbird. Now, look, we nursed it through those initial days. The damn thing hasn't wanted to go away. We've put it outside. It's pretended it's a Spitfire, and it's zoomed from roof to roof, from tree to tree. Then it comes back to the house and walks inside. So we've got a pet blackbird.
And it's called Fledge.
It's called Fledge, yes. We're not sure. We're not sure whether he's a boy or a girl. It's quite difficult to tell. You just don't lift the tail and there's a willy, and say that's a boy. It's more difficult with birds. Apparently, you need to be an expert, and I'm not an expert. But he's changing colour now, so whether he's a blackbird or a mum bird, we don't know. But anyway.
Yes, you're right about sexing birds, because I had what happened was Deborah Coddington's a good friend of mine, and anyway, she shifted from where she is in Martinborough up to up near Cambridge somewhere, and anyway, she rang me and she says, "Would you like some terracotta pots?" And I said, "I'd love some terracotta pots." And she says, "Well, you have to take some chickens." So that actually happened 3 times. And so I ended up with these amazing little bantams, and they're called Old English Game bantams. And I used to breed them, actually, when I was a kid, and won the grand champion at the Southland show when I was probably about 12 or 13 with these particular bantams. And so I really loved them. But they had been largely sort of caged because she had some little dogs. And so they hadn't been let out. And once they got let out at my place, they just all decided to go and lay for a week and then sit on their eggs. So we had an explosion of chickens. And, of course, it's incredibly difficult to sex small chickens. There is different ways of doing it, and I've found that out. But you're right. It's not easy deciphering what's going to happen in the bird world.
Yeah. Well, I'll tell you what, the other thing that here we are, nature study here, I should be Richard Attenborough. That he's changing colour, but he grows new feathers, and the feathers start off as just plain, tiny little white straight quills.
Yeah.
And the fluffy bits develop later. I had no idea that was the way that birds do it, but anyway.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, being a mutton birder, I sort of know a little bit about feathers and young birds.
I actually wasn't going to bring that up, Tina.
I still got to write that story.
It was about 15 years ago. Tina promised to write me a story on mutton birding. But anyway, hey, look, talking about the media, and if you want to.
Yes.
I think that Willie Jackson was right. He wanted to put together a super government radio station come television station like the BBC. He was absolutely right. But everything that Willie Jackson does, he does with such a loud, laughing way. Nobody takes him seriously. But Willie Jackson was absolutely right. If we could have had the New Zealand equivalent of the BBC, we would all be much, much better off for it. But that's not going to happen now. Yeah. And look, the other thing that I want to say is that the scorn and derision that's been, go woke, go broke, that I've heard that so many times over the past couple of weeks. The decision to close down newsrooms has not been made because people aren't watching the news or because of the news content.
It's the advertising.
The decision has been made simply because those radio stations and television stations are losing money, and the single biggest cost that they have is in the newsroom.
That's right.
The newsrooms aren't being closed because of internal company concerns about the direction of the news. It's not that at all. It is because not enough advertisers are supporting the lifestyle programs and that sort of thing.
Yeah.
That's where it is. People have got it absolutely wrong.
Well, I was really surprised just recently because I was doing a campaign for something and got some quotes, and the spot prices for radio are back where they were when we were in radio, Alan. I mean, they're pretty bloody low. I was quite surprised, and so advertising like the Herald used to command, I think it was $50,000 or $60,000 for a page. I bet you bloody wouldn't have to pay that for it now.
No. A full page in the Herald was worth a lot of money. But look, there has always been opinion and bias in the media. I got involved in general news at 4XO in Dunedin, Radio 4XO in Dunedin, in 1978, and I was surprised because I came from another area. I came from cars actually into this job, and I fell into it very, very quickly and felt very, very comfortable with it. But one of the things that I noticed very quickly was that this was the era of trade unions. Trade unions are very, very strong.
Oh, wasn't it great? Wasn't it great though?
Yeah, well, the sofas of Southland were heroic in their support of the trade unions. And Barry certainly changed the tune there. But look, every single journalist was a member of the trade union, of the journalist trade union.
Correct.
And if there was a debate, if there was an industrial problem, between the Burnside Freezing Works and the blokes on the chain, well, the journalists naturally drifted to take the view of the chain workers. And when I got to Radio Avon, that was in Christchurch, about 1982. That was the worst experience of my life. I was. The newsroom at Radio Avon had got a bit out of control, and they didn't, again, because of the stroppy trade union, they couldn't do a thing. The management could not do a thing. Every time they tried to correct the situation in the newsroom, which would become an entity of its own, and was causing the station, costing a lot of money.
Yeah.
The trade unionists just dug their toes in. But I got there, and there were ongoing arguments, ongoing industrial disputes at the Firestone Tire and Rubber Company. Well, I tell you what, the members of the Radio Otago newsroom knew the members of the trade union movement out of Firestone. They almost got invited to their houses. I mean, they were so chummy So absolutely chummy. And I would think that they would have run 3 trade union stories to one company story.
We did. Yeah.
So there's always been that bias. And I guess that I've been listening to this ongoing and worsening debate, and the sneering at the media by a group of New Zealanders, and I want to rattle their cages a bit, to be honest, because it's always happened. There has always been journalists that politicians haven't liked. You remember Tom Scott being ordered out of a press conference by Muldoon?
Was it Simon Walker was another one?
Yes, Simon Walker.
Yeah. And I've been given my ass a couple of times too, don't worry, in my life.
Yeah.
However, you know, when you talk back about the days of the industrial disputes, it was because of the Think Big projects too, I think. So, you know, Calvin Fisher in Dunedin, Steve Marshall was another one. There was a guy who did TY for years, and I can't remember his name off the top of my head. He was Ray Bianchi. Ray Bianchi was another one. These were heavy hitters. Yes. And then you had a woman like Di Lenihan, was it? She was a journalist, and she actually, I think, was in a relationship with Roger Middlemas, who was the president of the Meat Workers Union. So
and he was. Yeah, he was a fearless trade unionist, Roger Middlemas.
And he was like Calvin Fisher. They just didn't have any, you know, they just were terrible.
Yeah.